Okay, now we're ready to start our endorsement interviews. Our first candidate is Melissa Hernandez. She is an appointed incumbent with BART as in District 5, representing District 5. And I believe she was appointed in May of this year. So Melissa, would you please, we're going to start the clock when I finish asking actually when you start speaking, we'll start the clock, right? Okay. What unique background best qualifies you for this office? And you have a 2-minute response. Go.
Thank you, Pat, and hello, everybody. Thank you for having me on this afternoon. I would like to introduce myself as Melissa Hernandez. Was an 8-year council member, 4-year council member, and 4-year mayor for the city of Dublin. As you know, the city of Dublin has been one of the fastest growing cities in the last decade and a half, but we have been proud leaders to be able to be financially and fiscally responsible, being able to make sure that we have a safe community for all of our residents in the city of Dublin. But with that leadership has brought me the guidance, and also I feel that I'm best qualified because of the fact that if you look at my resume, I've sat and chaired several committees that have to do with transportation. I chaired the finance committee for ACTC, which is the Alameda County Transportation Commission. The San Joaquin Rail, I was also on the San Joaquin Rail as my mayor leadership, and then also on LACTA, which is the Livermore Amador Valley Transit Agency. And so it is our bus system here in the Tri-Valley, Dublin, Livermore, Pleasanton. We work really well with the county connection in Contra Costa County. So I've had a long-term, many transit-oriented commissions that I've sat and I've run. So with that leadership in the background and being able to get appointed to BART back in March, on May 23rd, has been able to give me the kind of a foot in to be able to learn about all the fiscal cliff that BART will be having, but ridership, safety, and making sure that we get our ridership up is priority for BART and for myself.
Thank you. The next question is one of our participants. This will be a 1-minute response. Seniors and disabled people need a place to sit when they get to the train early. Can BART open trains early for seniors and the disabled?
That's actually a very good question. As you know, I'm coming into just learning a lot of great things that are happening in BART. I wouldn't see why we wouldn't be able to speak to our, Shane Edwards actually runs all of our 50 stations, and to be able to have that communication. I think it's always important for us to be able to get feedback from the people that ride it the most. And just through, as mayor of the city of Dublin, and I'm going to refer to Dublin because I've been there, where all my leadership has come from. But I appointed folks to the senior commission, and it's really important to have not only different folks on that commission, but the last person I appointed was a senior citizen, because I felt that she would best give us the results and that we needed, and be able to voice her opinion for the rest of the seniors. So I think it's really important to be able to get feedback from the folks that need it the most, and to make sure that there's accessibility for our senior citizens and also our disabled riders.
Thank you. Okay. The next question is a 1-minute response. How would you increase coordination with other transit agencies to improve the rider experience?
So we're doing a little bit of that already at BART. I know that we will be doing a survey, and that's something that I think it's really important that we have a periodic survey so that we're able to get the feedback from folks. But we've actually teamed up with other agencies as well, AC Transit, that the majority of the ridership is in Hayward and Oakland and so on, is really important to keep that line of communication going. We have the SF Gator Now any student at San Francisco State is able to get our Clipper card, and they ride not only on Muni, but BART, and other transit agencies, LAFTA in the Tri-Valley, for free. And that's a coordination that we've done with San Francisco State. We're hoping to bring on to other community universities as well, because it's really important to have that seamless transit ride from one, whether you're riding a bus or you're riding the BART train, or if you're riding any other type of operation. It's important for us to be able to coordinate together.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is about Murphy, could you take your video?
Well, I'm going to jump on a Zoom call.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, I'll put you back. Okay, all right.
Okay. I muted myself, that was good. Okay. Murphy, could you mute yourself and take your video down? Thank you.
He's still up there.
Okay. If re-elected, or if elected to the BART District 5 position, Melissa, how would you address the budget shortfall BART faces?
So that's a question that's being asked of all of the board members. I think it's really important to try to push for one, to be able to get more ridership on our BART trains, to be able to have that communication with the businesses that we're doing right now, the bigger businesses, to be able to get more folks back into the office, to be able to thrive on and be able to produce an economic development. As you know, this is a very sensitive and difficult budget crisis that BART is looking in, so making sure that we have the right leadership in place to be able to make the best decisions we can for not only for our districts, but for the entire BART system. And we will be looking most likely at a 2026 ballot measure to be able to close that financial and fiscal cliff. And it's really important for people to understand that, because without one of the biggest transit agencies in Northern California, it's a trickling effect to all the other transit agencies.
Thank you.
And
okay, this is a follow-on question by our participants. What do you plan to do to bring down BART's operating costs?
so that is another excellent question. We will be looking, and I've actually had this conversation with our general manager, is how can we look at what we're doing? Do we have to have less contracts potentially in the future? Do we do more of the BART work within our own employees? So that's something definitely that we're looking at with regards to the cost in the future. But as you know, it takes a lot to be able to run a system like this. And again, one of the biggest systems in the United States. We want to make sure that our employees are safe. We want to make sure that our employees are available to the most modern technology to be able to run the system.
Thank you. The public has growing fears about substance abusers and homeless passengers riding BART. What would you do to allay fears of the public riding BART?
So as even a mayor, it's really important that we keep our community safe. So keeping all the riders safe on BART is a priority. Safe, cleanliness, and making sure that we address the issues that are happening right now at BART. And we have actually started that. If you have seen on the news or seen in the newspaper, because the media loves to talk about BART every single day, we have started putting up our gate fares up and making sure that the folks that go in there have to pay for their fare in order for them to get on BART. What I think is really important too is that we work with Alameda County. My day job is with Alameda County District 1. And it's important for us to be able to communicate with the right people in Alameda County of behavioral health so that we can be able to get the assistance that those folks need. I've always believed that we need more facilities, not only in certain areas of the county, but throughout Alameda County.
Thank you. What is BART's plan to improve the infrastructure and the stations? Many of the stations are in disrepair, specifically the Hayward BART station.
Yes, and that has been addressed. I've also, will be being addressed. I've gotten a few emails from some residents in Hayward already, asking if we could keep up on the cleanliness. And as you know, that has been one of my priorities from day one. And looking and visiting and making sure that all the stations are being kept up. We are starting to do some remodeling in some certain stations. One of them is in Oakland as well. As you know, that BART owns land around some of the stations, and being able to bring in what they need to bring in, which is like economic development and some potential housing, and we'll clean up those areas. And making sure that our station agents are also doing what they need to do to be able to address that. I had started a program in Dublin called Keep Dublin Clean and Green, and it's being able to get other folks of the different communities and businesses to come along and help.
Okay, Melissa, another participant asked, why did you choose to step down as Dublin mayor to accept the BART District 5 position?
That's a great question as well. As you know, my heart will always be with Dublin. I've been in Dublin for over 25 years and raised my wonderful kids there. And this was a very difficult decision that I had to make. So if you saw my video that I gave to and presented to my residents, I wasn't saying goodbye. I was saying good luck as an Irish good luck for all of us. I'm still representing our wonderful city of Dublin, and I was going to run in November for this seat. Dublin has one of the shortest term limits, which is 8 years total for council and for mayor combined. And McPartland decided to step down earlier because of a personal reason, and so I had to make that difficult decision. And I made sure that my staff in Dublin was very well prepared, and we were able to have the really big projects that needed to come a little bit forward. But again, Dublin is a very well run city, and again, I'm still representing them.
Thank you. Okay. BART's fare evasion is a chronic problem. What do you recommend be done?
And that's what we're doing right now. We're taking this very seriously by putting the fare gates up, cleaning the stations, opening up the bathrooms that I was told for many years were closed, and wanting to really make sure that BART is doing their job to be able to be safe and clean for all riders. We started in Oakland already. We actually have the calendar of all the gates that will be going up. It'll be online, and then you'll see for the rest of this year, and then you'll see for the year of 2025 all the gates going up through all 50 stations. So I really truly feel that that will help with the fare evasion.
Okay, thank you. And are there any other questions from the audience? Okay, then we have, in closing, why should Castro Valley Democratic Club endorse your candidacy? And you have 2 minutes.
Well, I'm definitely excited to have not only representing but the Tri-Valley, but representing Castro Valley as well, and the other unincorporated areas. Castro Valley is right next to Dublin. I've had many residents email me when I was mayor asking us to incorporate you guys. But definitely excited about being on the BART board and bringing changes, and also showing the positive things that BART does. And I think it's really missed in so many different ways, because there are so many different actually good things that BART is doing and trying very hard to be able to get not only the trust of the people, but also to get the ridership back. And again, like I said, to be able to have a good, strong board is going to be very important in the next several years and forever moving forward with BART. I would love the endorsement of not only of you, but just Castro Valley, because I think it's one of those great things to be able to be on the board and to have support from people that care about their community. And again, thank you so much for having me, but I also feel that I've started this up and running with a head start because of my leadership that I bring over as the former mayor of Dublin, and proud to be a BART board representative for all of us.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you so much, Melissa Hernandez, for coming today. Would you all give her a round of applause? So we're going to just have a 1-minute changeover as we bring up our next panel. This will be Loma Sanitary District. And I'm going to stop my video. Okay. So we have 3 candidates here today from Loma Sanitary District. Bob Glaze had planned to attend. Unfortunately, he is sick. And he has asked Benny Lee to be his proxy to give his response. So we'll have Benny Lee talk for himself and on behalf of Bob Glaze. Since we have 4 candidates, this is going to be a 45-minute interview session. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for their opening remarks, and we'll allow 1-minute responses for questions from the participants. Our first question, we're going to start with Mimi Dean. I'm sorry, let me introduce the candidates before we start. We have Mimi Dean, and it's Dámaris Villalobos-Galindo, and Benny Lee, and Bob Glaze in absentia, but represented by Benny Lee. You just have to imagine him sitting here. Okay, so our first question will be our opening statement, and this you have 2 minutes. We'll start with Mimi Dean, and we'll rotate the order with each question. What unique background best qualifies you for this office? Go.
Do I need that?
Yeah.
All right. So most of you know me as Mimi Dean. My real name is Moira, but I've been using Mimi my whole life. And you know, my slogan and the way I live is living green with Mimi Dean, because that's really who I am. I also go by the name of Trashista, turning junk into funk, because I have been recycling, repurposing, composting my entire life. I do have a degree in environmental studies from San Francisco State, and I have a lot of experience working with regulatory and environmental agencies. I was a union rep at my school, and so I'm able to work with teachers, parents, and administrators. I'm able to work across lines. I was also the leadership teacher at my school almost my entire 32-year career in middle school. And being a leadership teacher really helps you gain a lot of skills in planning, implementing, organizing, all kinds of wild events. I believe that I have strong name recognition in the Eden area. And so I think that that is going to really help me to be elected to serve our communities on the Loma Sanitary District. I really think, you know, working in the schools, I actually got to see firsthand. I used to do waste audits, so we would, well, I wouldn't jump in the dumpster, but somebody would come out from waste management, and we'd pull things out of the dumpster, and we would see what was in each dumpster. And working in the schools for 32 years, I can tell you that our recycling program and our composting program, they need a lot of improvement. And I think I have a lot of great ideas to make that happen. My main focus when I'm elected will be zero waste education, fiscal responsibility, and policies and plans to combat climate change. I know that I'm a great candidate, and I hope you do too.
Okay. Next up, Dámaris.
Thank you everyone for being here on a Sunday afternoon. very excited to be here. Again, my name is Dámaris Villalobos-Galindo. I am a resident of the Fairview community. Very excited to live there. I love my community and my neighbors. But I am also a registered professional civil engineer, and my focus for the last 12 years has been in water resources engineering, working mainly in the trenches. I work for both private and public agencies. I work for San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, for San Jose Water Company, and I work in the trenches, working actually in implementing infrastructure projects that look to improve our water resources and our water infrastructure. And I believe one of the main issues that we have is aging infrastructure, and basically figuring out what is the best way to do those projects in a timely basis, because infrastructure is aging fast and we have all of these issues that are happening, such as climate change, that are making our problems even worse. Another of my priorities is to ensure that the workforce that is aging, that the new workforce has a chance to overlap with the older workforce so that they can pass on the institutional knowledge that they have, and all of that information that they've learned is not lost. So that's one of my other priorities. And the last one is to make sure that we are meeting our regulatory requirements, and not only meeting them, but exceeding them as well. Because sometimes when an agency is working well, that doesn't mean that it cannot work even better. And some of the projects that I worked on, we've implemented new novel ways of doing things at low cost, and trying to come up with new technologies that can actually solve many of the issues that water agencies are facing in the future. Thank you.
And next up is Betty Lee.
First, I want to, is this on? First, I want to thank the Castro Valley Democratic Club for holding this event. I want to thank the participants, and I also want to thank the candidates who are running, because these are important positions, right? And they will add more to the discussion. I want to thank the voters for electing me for the last 4 years. We've done a lot to improve the agency, because the agency was already a world-class agency, and we've done more to even improve it by ensuring that our staff are trained to the highest level, ensuring that they go to innovative conferences. I've worked for over 25 years in the private sector, and I worked for several years in the public sector, where I actually built out infrastructure for the county of San Mateo on the public Wi-Fi, expanding from 18 locations to 1,400 access point locations for public Wi-Fi, which actually helped during the pandemic. I also lobbied on behalf of the county for the innovation infrastructure, and I've done that multiple times and presented in front of the Board of Supervisors. My experience is not just only working as staff, but also working as a policymaker. I was elected to San Leandro City Council, where I served for 8 years, and elected 4 years for the Loma Sanitary District. My experience is on the policy making, because as a staff, we have to adapt to policies, and some of the policies didn't always work for us. So as a policymaker, we have to make sure that we make the agency work the best for our ratepayers, for the community, and as well as working with all our sister agencies together. So I'm looking for your endorsement, because I believe I can do the job even better in the next 4 years.
Thank you. And now if we could hear from Bob Glaze.
So I spoke to Bob Glaze a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the election. And one of the things I could tell you about Bob is that he was elected to council when he was 29 years old. And he served for 8 years, and he got re-elected for another 8 years. He worked actually in the city of Oakland for technology infrastructure for over 30 years. So he has actually both the public staff administration experience as well as the public policy. The reason why Bob and I spoke very well together is because he was actually one of my mentors. I started as a activist in the community, working on against certain things that were impacting our community. And Bob was the one who guided myself and many other individuals who were elected today. He's looking to continue his role as a policymaker, but also looking to advance others in the public policy playground.
Thank you. Our next question,
You might want to turn that on.
oh, sorry. That would help. Our next question will be to Dámaris. What would be the top 3 priorities if you are elected to the Loma Sanitary District Board of Directors?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I alluded a little bit to the 3 priorities that I believe are the main ones at the beginning if I get elected. The first one is to meet regulatory requirements. I know I am actually a qualified stormwater pollution prevention plan practitioner and developer, and I work very closely with the water resources the state water board, and they are constantly changing regulation. Sometimes some of the regulations that they come up with are not very feasible, and they have to work very closely with agencies to make sure that the technology to actually meet those regulations is available. And in my relationships with them, I've actually had very good results in meeting halfway, where we know that their job is to make sure that the waters of the United States are clean and are good for the public, but at the same time is we need to catch up, right? A lot of agencies need to catch up and to work towards a goal so that we can do that. Thank you.
Benny Lee?
So the mission statement for Loma Sanitary District is that we provide the best value in terms of wastewater, solid waste, and recycling services. Those are our mission goals, and our policies are focused on improving that every single time. In fact, when we take a look at our key performance indicators, we could see that we're exceeding that on a high level. The infrastructure is actually very important because of the fact that we saw that our mission statement needed to change from the lowest prices to the best value. In the last 10 years, we've had half of the extreme weather events that we've had over the last 60 years. In fact, in the last 2 years, we've seen some of those events really disrupt our infrastructure where it impacted our ratepayers. That's why it's important for us to ensure that we provide the best value and services to our ratepayers.
And next, Bob Glaze.
So actually, I'm glad about that because Bob Glaze was part of that infrastructure change. One of the things that they did is they started the whole program by getting 2 loans. One is called WIFIA, Water Infrastructure Financing Investment Act, as well as SRF, which is State Resource Financing, which funded roughly $49 million of the improvements in terms of replacing the aging infrastructure that we have. We had vitreous clay pipes that were over 100 years old, and the whole plan is to replace 40 miles, 4 miles every single year. Right now, we're 1.5 miles ahead of the goal, and we're at 26 miles.
And finally, are we ready? Mimi Dean.
Okay, so my main goals will be, I'd like to talk mostly about zero waste education. So as you guys know, I was a middle school teacher for 32 years, and I mean, I still teach. I work with Forrester out of Castro Valley at their Earth Day events. I come to the San Lorenzo HOA events, and I still teach about composting, recycling. I do things like take old t-shirts and make them into bags. I dehydrate compostable materials, and I turn them into totally amazing art projects with the kids. I think that zero waste education is really important, and that is something that Loma does need to improve on. Fiscal responsibility is my next thing. I think that Loma does a pretty good job, but I think that, with the whole rate increase thing that just happened, I know that a lot of people are very upset about that, and I would like to be able to look at that maybe down the road and see if there's any way. Beep. I should have watched the clock.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is from one of our participants. Why are you interested in being on this position specifically? We're going to start with Benny Lee.
Well, I ran 4 years ago because it is a continuation of my public policy experience, and I actually wanted to work with the an agency that focused on infrastructure and improving that infrastructure. Fortunately, the infrastructure progress was already there, and the other infrastructure that I focused on was the people infrastructure, ensuring that we ensured that the staff was trained to a world-class level, and that's what's happening right now. If we take a look in the last four years, we have 0 lost injuries because we constantly have 20 trainings every single year on safety to ensure that we have the lowest incidents, and we have not had any incidents or any workman comps as a result. I want to continue to make sure that our agency is constantly the best agency, and also working together with other agencies. I see our sister agency here, which is Castro Valley, and I also sit on the Alameda County Special Districts Association, where we have roughly about 20 different agencies. We have to work together in partnership to make it better for our ratepayers.
Bob Glaze?
Well, Bob Glaze highlights his experience in finance as well as his experience working on both the public and private sector. And I know that he's a fan of Alameda County Special Districts Association, so I know if he does get elected, we're going to have a tug of war for that position. Many of the values that he has I share, and we do have disagreements, but that's what makes better policy.
Okay, our next question. Loma Sanitary District has historically had the lowest rates. How would you address the public's concerns that significant rate increases will be needed for upgrades? And this will start with Betty Lee.
We didn't answer.
I'm sorry. My fault. Mimi Dean, I skipped you. And Dámaris. Okay.
Please repeat it.
I apologize.
It was from the public.
Okay. Why are you interested in this position specifically?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. So one of the things that I believe this position is, the goal is to represent the community. And representation to me is very important. Up until last year, we had an issue with our cars not being replaced, and I had triceps supposedly on our street. One side of our street is Loma, and the other side is City of Hayward. And I believe that the people living at the fringes of the service area, the Loma service area, are basically what I like to call the forgotten ones. When I called both agencies, they all pointed at each other. And basically, I didn't know until last year that I was part of Loma, and I was like, hey, I'm helping other infrastructure projects, and I'm working with the public in other infrastructure projects. How come I cannot represent the area where I live in Loma? And that's one of the reasons, because I believe that I not only have the technical expertise, but also live in the area, and I want to be represented. Thank you.
Okay, and as you know, I have been on the Eden Mac for 4.5 years, and if you know anything about my interactions with applicants and other members of the Eden Mac, you know that I'm often the one that asks the very tough questions, the questions that other people might not want to ask. And I think that's a really important voice to bring to the Loma board. This position is about governance. It's not about engineering. It's about the ability to work with people across the lines. It's about willing to work with different groups. It's about the things that I do, like when things come to the MAC, I make a Facebook post and I get community input before I make my decision and how I'm gonna vote. And I listen to all the comments and figure out how I'm gonna vote on things. And I vote the way my community wants me to vote. So that's the kind of person I am, and that's why, besides everything else you've already heard about junk and defunk, I'm the best candidate sitting here today. Thank you.
Okay. Loma Sanitary District has historically had the lowest rates. How would you address the public concerns that significant rate increases will be needed for upgrades? And we'll start with Bob Glaze.
So the program started actually several years ago, right, when Bob Glaze was actually on the Loma Sanitary District. They saw the fact that The mission statement was to have the lowest rates in the region, and that was very clearly true with Loma Sanitary District, but that was at the cost of the infrastructure. What the board at that time foresaw is, okay, with these extreme weather events, there were going to be more issues, and last year was the proof in the pudding. When we saw sewer covers pop up, we had a storm that was nearly 100 years. And we had outages throughout the district, and the fact that some folks were not able to flush their toilets for days. That's why we need to make sure that we put in an infrastructure that works for our public, so that they can rely on it, and that we can have a healthy and clean environment.
And let's hear from Bob Glaze.
That was about Glaze.
You look like Betty Lee on
Okay, well, this is a real tough one, right? Because it already got voted in. So it was voted in at the last Loma meeting, the rate increases, and it was voted in 5-0. You know, it's a shame that the mission statement was to have the lowest rates, because I think that was kind of a disservice. But I feel like it was the former board members that had that mission statement for years and years and years. And so what I can say to the public about this is, if when I'm elected, if there is any way that the infrastructure improvements could be done with the money that we collect in a 3-year cycle, I think we should be able to look at the 4th and 5th year and say, hey, you know what? We don't need this money for infrastructure, and we should go back and give the money back to the ratepayers. So I just think that's something that's a possibility. I believe in fiscal responsibility, but I also feel like this is going to be a hard one for people on limited incomes. And
Dámaris.
Yeah, I believe that we need to be honest, right, and transparent with the public. Everything has gone up. If you have a house, right, sometimes you have to change the roof, you have to change the gutters, and all of that costs money. You cannot leave a house like it was. However, I agree that there are people that, a lot of people, low-income communities that need help, and that you need to have financial assistance programs for those people, so that they can actually slowly pay their bill, or sometimes even just have discounts for them. But I do believe that infrastructure costs money, and we have to be very clear on our rate. How do we structure our rates? Very transparent with the public, because people are not dumb. They can read some of these financial statements and see, okay, what goes into this new rate, right? And basically split it up so that they can understand it and know that infrastructure ages. And some of the infrastructure that is out there right now was installed 80 years ago, 100 years ago, and it needs to be replaced.
So I'll speak from my perspective this time. Okay, so I want to thank the other candidates for their comments, because they are important comments. But we did a world-class rate study with a consultant, and basically these numbers are actually very well justified. When we took a look at the 5-year increases, and I actually spoke to one of our South Bay agencies to tell them exactly what our rates will be in 5 years. One of the things that they found is, wow, you're still going to be lower than ours. Now, that's not for comfort for the ratepayers, because it is going to be an increase. But one of the things that they can rely on is the infrastructure is going to be reliable for them. We're putting in a state-of-the-art infrastructure in terms of the sewer pipes, and these sewer pipes are implemented in Japan. They have never failed. Chemical costs have gone up, for example, for our treatment. 3 years ago, it cost us $300,000. This last fiscal year, it cost us $1.53 million. We're finding ways to reduce those costs by actually building them in-house, but that also costs infrastructure improvements.
Okay, we have a question from one of our participants. How do you think sea level rise will affect the Loma Sanitary District? Okay, so Dámaris, you'll start.
Well, there are many ways. One way is already impacting us. We talked about extreme weather events, and sometimes the capacity that we have in the system that was designed many years ago is just not enough. Our unincorporated areas keep growing, and we need to make sure that we have enough capacity. So that's one of them, that we have increased weather events. Also, treating some of the water that we all are, our sewer systems, because we have additional contaminants now. It is more costly. So basically, everything is going up right now. But also sea level rise. I'm not sure about any studies that have been done about how is that going to impact our wastewater treatment plants, but I'm sure it will in different ways. But yeah, there are just many aspects, and I think that they will directly impact us. Yeah.
Benny Lee?
Okay, so actually we had a couple of presentations that are workshops presented by BACWA in terms of sea level rise, and the numbers actually change on a regular basis. When I was on city council, we were talking about the marina shoreline raising from 36 to 55 inches. Now we're seeing that it's going to be roughly about 27 inches. So every year it does change because they get more and more data. Currently, our agency is working with other sister agencies. HARD is one of the agencies that we're working with to discuss on shared costs and working on lobbying at the federal level to try to address some of these issues. FEMA has some funding, but the funding has kind of dried up, and we need to, of course, work with our federal regulators to ensure that there's funding to address these issues.
Next, we'll hear from Bob Glaze.
So Bob Glaze has actually been at the forefront of this. I recall talking 20 years ago about sea level rise and also climate change, and he was way ahead of the crowd on this. He has always supported federal lobbying, working with the federal regulators to try to ensure that there's funding for us to address it so it doesn't impact our public as much. It's a clear issue that we had because in 2021, October 2021, we had 84 MGD. That was the largest flow that we had. And then in December 31st, our plant actually had to shut down. In fact, other plants had to shut down because of the flows. It was estimated that the flow was 140 to 160 MGD. Our plant was scaled for 100 MGD. If we did not shut down the plant at that time, the plant would have been gone offline for weeks. We were offline for 8 hours.
Next up is Mimi Dean.
All right. Well, I can tell you that Loma has one of the greatest things of any of the agencies around here, and that's the horizontal levee. So that does protect us against sea level rise. And I think that taking that example and implementing it in as many places as we can is a really great idea. I am a member of the Sunrise Movement, so this is a topic very near and dear to me. Being a teacher for so many years and teaching the kids about the environment and how to try to protect our planet, it's really important that we're not just thinking about ourselves, that we're thinking about our kids and our grandkids and their grandkids, right? And this is the issue of our times. So I think that working with Hayward Shoreline, HASPA, and other agencies and jurisdictions is a really important thing for Loma to be doing. We have to work together to solve this crisis.
Dámaris? You already answered, okay.
You want to give me extra time?
You can always ask. Okay, next up, do we have any other questions from the audience? Any other written questions? Okay, I'll move on. What programs would you develop to improve waste reduction and promote recycling at schools, specifically the Hayward Unified School District? Does Dámaris start?
I think Bob starts.
Bob?
So Bob was one of the first persons to actually push for programs, right, such as the outreach and communications, and we're actually spending about $120,000 a year to basically promote that kind of education. He wasn't in office for the last 4 years, right? But then I have no doubt he was supported this. We actually hired a waste educator, and we have monthly trash talk sessions with various community groups to ensure that we reduce, educate not just only the businesses, the schools, but also the communities that are looking to learn more about reducing their bill as well as reducing their impact on the environment.
Mimi?
Okay, so I'm a real big fan of public outreach, and I was a part of the Ora Loma poster contest. That's how I first got involved with Ora Loma 30 years ago as a young teacher. And I know that Ora Loma doesn't do the calendar anymore, but there's other things they can do. And I'm going to tell you why that contest was so important, because you not only taught the kids about the concept of the year, but the kids went home and they taught their families, and that was what was important. And then that beautiful calendar came out, and that was a reminder every day of the year how to recycle right, or how to be a good composter, or whatever it was you wanted to do. So I think public outreach is really important. And all right, so maybe people don't use calendars, that's what I've been told, but they do. But how about electronic billboards instead? How about doing some kind of contest and getting it out on electronic billboards, or getting vinyl banners that we hang along our main thoroughfares? I just think listen, I'm a creative person. I was a middle school teacher. This is what I did. So I have a lot of great ideas, and I know that being on the board, I hope I could get some implemented. Beep.
Damaris?
Yes, I had some time to think about this one. I think one of the first programs I would have is Know Your Sanitary District. I feel that Oro Loma, maybe because I thought I wasn't part of Oro Loma for many years, is not as well known as it should be. For example, partnering with some of the areas where we have the service areas, so we can have booths to teach not only kids but people about who we are and what we do, and teach them about, where, because it can be something simple, but people sometimes don't know how to recycle and what goes into the compost and what goes into the trash. And also to tell them about what damage so much trash is doing to our environment. In terms of schools, currently in my previous job, I'm actually very involved in schools. I work very closely with them. I went to my local school in the Fairview area, very close to San Felipe Park, to offer to give them a presentation about the water cycle and about what we do. So I would do that. I would partner with them, and so that we can teach them more about what we do.
And finally, Benny Lee?
Yes, some of the programs that you're talking about, we've already implemented, and I talked about the fact that Trash Talk exists. One of the key things is that once you put these programs, you have to measure them, and we've measured it with a lot of success. In fact, the numbers are coming through the roof. Our expectations when we send out these, whether it's electronic media or the surveys, we're getting high response rates. Generally, you see them in the single digits. We're seeing them at the rates of 20 to 30%, which is telling us that the public is very responsive. I think the challenges that we have from a regulatory perspective is that these regulations, when they come down, they're unfunded. They're unfunded mandates that we have to find ways to squeeze funding to ensure that it happens. We have to work more with our regulators to ensure that they also provide additional funding, because in order to have better education, you need to make sure that you have the proper funds for it. So lobbying and working with our state as well as federal regulators is a must.
Bob started, correct? Did Bob already answer?
Bob was the one who started.
First, okay. So in closing, why should Castro Valley Democratic Club endorse your candidacy? And we're going to start with Mimi Dean.
Well, I think I've kind of spoken about that already. I feel like, I am a great candidate. I have a long history of living green. If anybody knows my house is a tribute to being green, from recycled and repurposed art to a giant garden to amazing compost piles, all kinds of fruit trees. And my experience as a teacher and as on the Eden Mac, I think that really will serve me well. serving on the Loma board. I know that I can work across jurisdictions. I have wide name recognition all over the Eden area. And also in San Leandro. And I think that I'm the best candidate. So I think you should endorse me. And I feel like I've already said everything, so I don't want to keep repeating myself. But I do want to say that I did run a poster contest with the Alameda County Library, and the thing that I did that I thought made it really an even playing field was I made the lesson to present about the environmental topic, and I made a PowerPoint about it, and every kid in the county got to watch that PowerPoint. So the kids got the same information, and I think that's a really important thing. And then they got the same information about how to do an award-winning poster. And I think that I'm the kind of person that knows how to do a lot of different things from my experience on the Mac, being a teacher, being environmental since I was a little tiny kid. So I hope that you'll think about that when you put that star next to my name, and you say Mimi Dean will be the best for Loma. Thank you.
Dámaris?
Yes, I believe that Castro Valley Democratic clubs should endorse me because in addition to already working in finding solutions to water resources and environmental issues, I'm a very energetic individual with a can-do attitude. Any challenge that I've been given, I've been able to work on, and I work very closely with the public in many of my projects to find solutions so that it's a win-win situation, where the projects that agencies are doing are not only projects that are gonna look good for the agency, but are actually good for the public and that are not impacting them negatively. I'm also a leader, and I'm very good in communicating with different groups of people. I was the president for the Organization for Latino Affairs at my job, and right now, currently, I work. I'm very close working with the leadership, the community leadership, the Latino leadership at my recent job. I've had different certifications, which shows my ability and my willingness to learn. I'm a fast learner, and I really want to work closely with my neighbors, with my community, and make sure that we genuinely represent the people in the service area. Thank you.
Benny Lee?
Well, I want to thank you for electing me 4 years ago because it has been a wonderful experience. I applied my policy experience and worked together with many of you. In fact, I spoke with quite a few of you. The key thing is that, number one, we have a very diverse board. We have some policymakers who have been on in public policy for more than 40 years. That's Sheila Young. We have some newer folks, such as Rita Duncan and Fred Simon and Paul Stelsman. Every one of them has endorsed me because I'm able to work very well with everyone. We're focusing on policies, not the politics. We focus on exactly what is needed for the agency as well as the ratepayers. I'm asking for your endorsement because I'm qualified from the perspective of public policy, working with folks, and answering my phone calls. Every single one of the phone calls and emails that I've received, you know that I've responded. So I want to thank Mimi as well as Dámaris for running because they add more to the discourse. We need more folks to step up to run for office, right? But I wish to be re-elected, and I wish to have the endorsement of the Castro Valley Democratic Club.
And finally, Bob Glaze.
So one thing that Bob and I talked about was the fact that he's brought a lot of folks along. He's mentored a lot of folks, and in fact, many folks who have served on city council in special districts, they have served before and they serve currently, have been mentored by him. In fact, I'm one of the folks that he's mentored. Fred Simon is one of the folks he's mentored, as well as Brian Acevedo and Victor Aguilar. And there's many others that he has mentored. He's been working in the public policy space since his first election in 1980. So he's got more than 44 years of experience. Plus, he worked as a IT individual, technology for the city of Oakland for more than 30 years. So he knows how it works from the administrative side, but also on the public policy side. I've seen the effects of his public policy in terms of the funding that he's been able to get from both the federal and state level that has benefited the city of San Leandro, and also some of the changes in Loma Sanitary District because of the fact that we're improving our infrastructure specifically for our ratepayers. But there is a cost to it because of inflation. We are in challenging times, and if there are concerns in terms of the finances, we do spend our money wisely. One of the things that we have in our finance committee is we always make sure that we're maintaining our budget and we never exceed our budget. We do have areas that exceed because of inflation. And I just gave that example where chemical costs have gone up 5 times in the last 3 years.
Thank you very much. I'd like everyone to give a round of applause to our candidates. Thank you very much for your participation today, and we will notify you of whether you were endorsed. By the way, among Castro Valley Democratic Club members, they need to get 60% of the votes to be endorsed. Thank you very much. We're now going to take a 5-minute break as we change over to get ready for our next panel from Eden Township Healthcare District. Thank you. So our next interview is for candidates from Eden Township Healthcare District. Today we have with us Sabrina Aranda. Ronna Jojola will not be joining us. So we're going to start with a opening statement. You will have 2 minutes, and we will begin now. What unique background best qualifies you for this office?
Thank you, Pat. My name is Sabrina Aranda. I am running for District 4, which is an area particularly of Cherryland, Ashland, San Lorenzo area. I have been a lifelong resident of the Hayward unincorporated areas. I started living in Fairview when I was born, my younger years, and then I moved over to the Ashland area. So that's where I currently reside now. And I like to say a little bit about who I am because you may not have met me before, but I'm a proud auntie of 10 nieces and nephews. Twins are our most recent ones in the family, 2 boys. I'm also a proud daughter. My mother is here in the room in the back. And she worked for the United States Post Office for 25 years and was a union worker, a shop steward, and really paved the way for understanding. And I learned how to be of service at a very young age with her. And my family were very hard workers. And I'm just thankful to be here in this presence today. So thank you all for the opportunity. It's my first time ever running for office. And so I know it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to be here and away from your family. I've been serving in the Hayward Unified School District as a program director for the past 20 years. And I like to say that I love to build community and work in my community. I was a director now for 3 years, and in that small 3 years, I've been able to revenue over $30 million in grant funding for our district to help sustain our positions working in the community. So I say I'm a health advocate because all of those grants are giving back to our community around health and wellness for students and for families, because I honestly believe if our families and our seniors are healthy, our communities are thriving. And so beyond that, I've been of huge commitment and service to my community. I've been serving as a Hayward Education Foundation board member. I also recently joined the board for the League of Women Voters in the Eden area. I also serve on the Hayward Recreation and Park District Foundation as well.
Sabrina, do you support mental and medical clinics at local schools? Why or why not?
It's not a hard question to answer. In all 3 of our schools, at least in Hayward Unified, we do have medical clinics, and we also, with the Eden Healthcare District, they recently expanded to Castro Valley with Diversity Vasquez. And so I believe students having health directly on campus is critical to their future. Without our students having the resources they need on campus, they have a difficult time learning, without them having their basic needs met. And so I would also like to say that one thing with our grants and our wellness programs is that at least in the Cherryland Ashland area, 0 to 19 years of age is a majority of residents, is 30%. So I think it's really, really important that we are talking to our youth, educating them, and providing them direct service on their campuses and what we call community schools. And that was one of the recent grants that I helped write and received in Hayward Unified for $19 million, was providing community schools, meaning that within the center of your community are the schools and all the resources that the students need in order to thrive.
What would be your top 3 priorities if elected?
My top 3 priorities, one would be building partnerships and sustaining partnerships in our community. I would be working with Diversio, La Familia, other agencies so that we can continue to provide the best services to our students and families and our seniors. Oftentimes, many of our families are facing medical health care challenges. They don't have the opportunity to afford health care. As a Hayward Unified School District employee, we don't provide health care. So it's really important that we are working towards providing access. So I would say access would be my second, ensuring that we have different services within our community, that we are providing resources in different ways, not just at our schools, but also in the community with community forums. And I would also say that I would like to continue to be an advocate, and health advocate. Most recently, I've been advocating for St. Rose Hospital to continue to be sustained and open to our community where I was born. I was born at St. Rose and was a candy striper there when I was young. I wanted to be a pediatrician, but ended up being an educator. So that's what I would say.
Do you support Alameda Health System acquiring St. Rose Hospital? What do you see as Eden Township Healthcare District support for St. Rose Hospital?
Yes, absolutely. I was actually on a recent call, I think it was Thursday evening, before I went down to downtown Hayward Street Fair, and I would say that I advocated on there because I know the importance of, again, sustaining St. Rose Hospital. Not just because of, and Eden Township actually gave a significant amount of money and is dedicating more money to sustaining St. Rose Hospital as well. And with San Leandro being the closest hospital from there in Union City, we know that our families and students can be losing their lives and the time it takes for them to, take time from that current area, which is our South Hayward community, which oftentimes has some of the highest, greatest challenges in health, along with the Cherryland, Ashland area and community. So I would say that that would be really important, and I would definitely recommend us to continue that partnership.
Next question. How will you find out what the needs of your community are?
I think the most important way to find out the needs of our community is to actually listen and be in the community. Oftentimes, I feel we as leaders make decisions for our community without actually speaking to those that we're impacting. So by listening to our youth, by listening to our seniors, by spending time, and I don't just say time like meaning that you go and visit or you're at a community forum, but you're actually working and volunteering in those spaces that you find families and building strong, authentic relationships. I think when you have strong relationships, that people trust you and they're willing to tell you what their truth is and how you can better serve them. And I think that as elected officials, that's our job, is to listen, to build relationships and be of service and to represent the community that we are running for.
How would you support the needs of low-income residents who need but often don't receive quality health care and dental care?
Well, if you don't know, what the area that I'm representing, which is District 4, is predominantly Ashland, Cherryland. And right now, Ashland, Cherryland has the highest rate of mortality for stroke, heart attack, and also respiratory diseases, and the lowest life expectancy rate. And I think it's really, really important that in order to help our community, there are things like within our schools and our local parks to have like dental clinics coming there and supporting our students and our families, having the actual mobile health vans coming around to those areas, partnering with the Sheriff's Department as well, and being able to do more mental health services with the mobile mental health clinic as well. Because oftentimes I think our families may not have the health care or may not trust the health care to be able to go to those hospitals. And so it's important that we're actually spending time to go to the community and be there within those areas as well with those agencies that can provide free services to our families.
in closing, why should Castro Valley Democratic Club endorse your candidacy?
Thank you. I would say thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to be here. I hope that I can be of good service and I can support all families and seniors with health and health support. I also would like to say that I'm here in honor of my father, and he passed away 5 years ago from a heart attack and lived about a mile outside of the Ashland-Cherryland area. And he died 2 months after retiring from the United States Post Office for 32 years. And so I know the challenges it is when you don't have the health care that you want and how we can work as a community. And so I really feel that I could be a good fit as a director, and I hope that you can count on me because I have done so much service for this community, and I hope I can continue to do that in the role as a director for District 4, and I hope that you will endorse me this afternoon. And I hope that I get to know you a little bit better and be able to serve the Castro Valley community as well as my Hayward hometown community as well. And I think that, again, beyond just serving on different boards and working to sustain funds for our community, I love the Bay Area. I love Hayward. I love, being able to serve. That is, I think, what I was born and raised to do, is to be of service. And it makes me happy. It makes me joyful. And I think that with our families and our community, if they were able to receive the health care that they needed to, or the resources that they could, that we can have the thriving communities that we're looking for. And so it's really critical that without the health and wellness of our families and our seniors, our communities are continuing to live in spaces that are not allowing them to be educated. I think Ashland-Cherryland as well has a very low rate of families graduation rate. And so it's really connected to education as well, which is another piece of my passion in the community.
Could we all give a round of applause for Sabrina? Thank you so much, Sabrina, for participating in our interview today. We have one more group. This is AC Transit District, Ward 6. I don't know what I brought. So we'll take a 2-minute break while we change to our next panel. We have with us today 2 candidates for AC Transit District Ward 6. I'd like to introduce Jesse Gunn and Shonda Goward.
Close enough.
Goward?
Goward.
Goward. I apologize. So we're going to start with an opening statement. You each have 2 minutes to respond. And we're going to start with Shonda. And on your mark, this is the question. What unique background best qualifies you for this office?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to thank you all for having me, especially being a neighbor. This ward doesn't include Castro Valley or the areas covered by the Castro Valley Democratic Club, but we share bus lines. And so it's going to be extremely important that the person elected to this role connect with you all, because we're going to be discussing how do we partner to make sure that Central Alameda County gets the service that we deserve. I'm a collaborative leader, and it's demonstrated by the endorsements that I have. I have the support of both the mayors of Hayward and Newark, the majority of the Planning Commission in Hayward, the majority of the City Council. And I think that's the reflection of the service I've done in Hayward and the work I've done as the chair of the Library Commission and the vice president of the Friends of the Hayward Library. I'm from Fairview. I grew up there, so I understand the needs of the unincorporated area. I currently live in Hayward, and that's important to understanding the area. I'm building relationships in Newark, and I'm building relationships on this side of town as well. I've met with the representative who currently supports this area, as well as the one in Fremont who's currently served on AC Transit. I lead a large budget and a large team of classified staff, so I do this work already. I also have federal money to support work in my unit that I've gone after. So I do this work. And so I'm asking for your support today to continue this work, to support efforts, because I believe that transit is important for students to get to class and for workers to get to their good jobs. Thank you so much.
Jesse Gunn.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to try to avoid my teacher voice since I have a microphone. My name is Jesse Gunn. I am a public school teacher in Hayward. I teach at Tennyson High School, where I graduated 24 years ago. I'm running for AC Transit because I believe that it is a key component in addressing climate change and climate justice. It's also a key component in building strong communities where people have access to school, good-paying jobs, and essential services. I am proud to be the only endorsed candidate by the Alameda Labor Council, as well as both of our state representatives. I'm also endorsed by the majority of Hayward City Council, as well as the South Alameda County Young Democrats and the California Democratic Renters Council. I am a proud Democrat who has been organizing in my community for years, and not just within the realm of public transit. When our schools were faced with closure, I organized parents, teachers, and support staff to fight back, and we were able to save 6 schools. For the last year, I've been collaborating with city leaders, parks leaders, and leaders in the school district, elected and staff members, as well as community-based organizations around the needs of climate justice here in our area. And my vision and a year's worth of work, which is going to be our climate literacy resolution, is set to be presented before our school board next month. I am very proud to be a part of this community and to say that I've spent most of my life as a low-income person here. I've faced housing insecurity, and I've relied on the bus because I had no other option, just like 60% of our current AC Transit riders. And so when I say I understand the needs of our riders, it's because it's been there for me.
The next question will be 1-minute response. AC Transit is facing a fiscal cliff in fiscal year 25-26. What proposals do you have to resolve this crisis? We'll start with Jesse.
The way that we get out of this fiscal crisis is by making our service better. As you probably know, ridership is down because of the pandemic. It affected a lot of things, including how people get to work and whether they're going to be working from home. And AC Transit has done a great job of making sure to meet the needs of residents and improve service. So we are seeing a growth. It is coming back, but we're still currently at 85% service levels. I believe that we don't resolve this system, this fiscal crisis with cuts to our system or by making the transit experience worse. I believe that we get there by improving things. I also recognize that we need to hire more bus operators. We're currently budgeted for a little over 1,300, and we have about 1,200 bus operators. So we need to improve the working conditions and our hiring practices so that we can meet that need.
Are there any questions from our participants? Oh, I'm sorry. Shonda?
Yes.
Shonda.
Mr. Gunn is correct. Ridership has not recovered since the pandemic, but prior to that, AC Transit was not receiving the funding it should from MTC. So this is going to require working with because there are 2 county supervisors that work with AC Transit, and particularly our representative is Nate Miley. So working with him to make sure that AC Transit provides MTC provides AC Transit with the funding that it deserves. Second is making sure the central and southern Alameda County receives the funding that we deserve. So primarily a lot of AC Transit funding goes into Oakland, which needs it. They have way more riders than we do. But Hayward pays a parcel tax. into AC Transit. So we want to make sure that we get the funding we need to make sure that we have service, and so does the unincorporated areas. They are part of the parcel tax as well. So making sure that I can talk to you all, see what services you want as well.
What are AC Transit's operational challenges? And you have a 1-minute response. We'll start with Shonda.
Operationally, the first thing is operator shortage. The operator, there's not enough of them. They don't receive the breaks that they want and they deserve, needs in their contracts. When they spoke before the board, this was the repeated theme over and over again. We need more drivers, and we have to get creative about how to solve this problem. In other states, they have amended their state law. So for example, in Maryland, they have student drivers for the areas around their campuses. We could think about doing that. They have specific licenses for that. So they don't operate everywhere, but they do operate specifically around their campuses. That would help alleviate the driver shortage around East Bay, Ohlone, Newark, around Berkeley, and solve that particular problem and allow us to put more professional drivers in other areas. So thinking about creatively and working with the state and Caltrans can help us support our operations challenges.
Jesse?
Yes, so currently we are in the process of our realign, which is set to make adjustments to our service levels and frequency. And a big part of my role after being elected will be the implementation phase of this. Bus drivers do not get the rest time that they need, sometimes going up to 8 hours without using the restroom, which means they're not drinking water for 8 hours. And so when our bus operators went to the board to fight and say we need better treatment, I actually stood there with them and I spoke alongside them. I have been I've also been noticing that there are many areas within Ward 6 that do not get sufficient coverage, particularly around Canyon Middle School. That I've noticed in Castro Valley, which is slightly outside of Area 6, but part of that is just recognizing that we need to work better with our partners with the unincorporated as well.
Next question has a 1-minute response. How would you collaborate with school districts to help get students to school? And we'll start, Shonda?
I started last time.
Jesse.
Yes, so as a teacher, this is actually one of the reasons I decided to run in the first place. Was I had a student, she was a refugee from Afghanistan who needed extra help on her math. She hadn't attended school since 4th grade, and now she's in algebra. And she could not go to after-school tutoring because the World House bus would pick her up right when school ends, and she had no other way of getting home. That was the thing that made me initially get into this. So when I think about serving students and making sure that they get good access to school, I think about supplementary routes that are designed specifically for students. So they don't have to worry about safety issues at the bus stop or on the bus. This is designed with our students in mind. I also believe that we need to have better education at our school on how to ride the bus. I would love to see us go into the middle schools and high school and say, here's how to do it. Here's how to sign up for Clipper Card. Here is our Easy Pass program in which you can ride for free if we can work with our districts to acquire that.
So it's against federal law to have bus routes just for students. We can't do that. So we have to increase ridership overall so that if we have more riders on buses, then students can feel more safe. Part of the problem when people don't feel safe overall is because our buses aren't filling. And so I used to live in Washington, D.C., where all kinds of folks ride the bus. And so when folks act up, everybody responds because you're not going to do that on my bus. I rode the notorious X2, which comes from Southeast D.C. in the area known as Killerworth. And that bus goes all the way from Killerworth Avenue to the White House. And folks cut up all the time. And everybody reacts to get that person off the bus. And so as a community, if we can work to make sure from students to commuters to limited income folks, when we work with to have a more regional transit system, then we have a safer system on the bus.
And next question, what would you do to protect the safety of drivers?
So one of the programs that I love that Hayward has is the HEART program that our Hayward Police started. And that program, it doesn't necessarily send officers, it sends social workers. It sends mental health counselors to support folks. And sometimes you do need officers at the end of the day, but it doesn't necessarily start there. The challenge is jurisdictional because AC Transit is the bus and then it goes between jurisdictions, and not all of our jurisdictions have that program. So that's going to mean working with our entire county to then have that kind of program so that if a bus has a problem, it can call the county service no matter where it is, and then the county can send someone, and it's not relying on the city or the unincorporated area to bring someone, because Newark doesn't have that program, and the unincorporated areas doesn't either.
I agree 100%. And I'm glad you brought up the HEART program because I was one of the organizers that helped advocate for its creation in the first place. I'm very proud of what's happening in Hayward, and I would love to see it emulated with our Sheriff's Department. AC Transit currently has a contract with our Sheriff's Department. It's roughly $5 million, which sounds like a lot of money. However, our school district had a contract with the Hayward Police Department for a little over $1.5 million. So when you consider the size of the AC Transit District, I start thinking about, can we do more with this? Can we work with the Sheriff's Department and say, hey, can we actually meet the needs here of the safety on our buses? Safety also goes beyond just the buses. It goes on into pedestrian safety. It goes into making sure that we have safe, complete streets. It means making sure we have good bike lanes and signal crossings.
Ward 6 is a new ward. What transit improvements would you like to see in this area?
Something that I would like to see, earlier it was mentioned St. Rose Hospital. I would love to see a better service to that St. Rose Hospital. There are community routes that don't reach it unless you transfer. And I would like to see the communities around St. Rose actually be able to reach there. Also, growing up and living in South Hayward, I know that if I am at South Hayward BART and I need to go to Cal State East Bay, AC Transit doesn't have a direct route. You have to take a tour of the whole city to get there. When you look at Fairview, most of Fairview is residential, and so people who live in Fairview are traveling from there to try and get where they need to go. For example, Eden Hospital, which has a bus stop at the bottom of the hill, and I would like to see it closer or some sort of service to get people to the top who may not be able to. And so, as a frequent rider of the bus, I look at these things and I notice these things, and I also am listening to the needs of riders.
Yes, that comment about Cal State East Bay was in my letter to the Realign Committee, so just a note. One thing I would like to see is that the systems aren't connected to one another. So I'm a commuter from bus to BART to a whole different system in San Jose. And when the South Hayward BART fire happened and I had to get off the train in Fremont, there's no person there to tell you what to do next. And so if you aren't a person that knows that there's an AC Transit app, you're just stranded. I've lived in Washington, D.C. When that happens, they send a person and they tell you, you can get on the 99, which will take you all the way to the South Hayward BART, and then you can get there, home, or wherever else there is. We aren't a transit system that works with each other. And then also, I personally live on Carlos B. Boulevard. My bus stop, the 99, lets off on Mission Boulevard. When it gets dark in the wintertime, I have to then get off that bus, cross that busy street, and walk up that dark hill. No one wants to do that, which is why no one rides the bus. We gotta work to make these stops safer.
What are AC Transit's operational challenges? what would you do to increase ridership in Castro Valley and the Eden area?
I think one of the communities that we really need to think about are our seniors. I'm someone who's temporarily disabled. Soon I'll get a new knee and I'll be able to get right back on the bus. But eventually, at some point, I may not be able to drive anymore. And I think about my mom who lived in an area, she moved out of this area to an area that was more transit rich because she wanted to get to the library and see her friends. And I think about some of our folks who live in our unincorporated area with fewer bus stops and they won't have that option. And I want them to see their friends at the senior centers and see their friends at the libraries and be able to get around to the grocery store. And that means having more transit that is planned to do that work. And it's selfish because I know I'm going to eventually be in that place and it may be sooner than later. And so making sure that the unincorporated area, which is starting to age, has those opportunities, I think that's really important for this area specifically.
Yes, so currently AC Transit is piloting a unionized flex program in the Warm Springs area in order to reach areas that are not currently served by a bus. And I would love to see something like that in the unincorporated area. There are neighborhoods where you would have to walk very far to get to the nearest bus stop. And I'm a bit spoiled or privileged that there is a bus that runs right down my street. And so when we talk about getting people transit where they need to go, we also need to talk about paratransit. Paratransit is currently facing some difficult times coming up ahead, and depending on the agency and their funding methods, there's lots of issues where we can do better interagency communication and helping each other out. For example, I was talking with the city, somebody at the city of Hayward, and I would love to come into contact with other leaders at the supervisor's level, for example, on how we can make things better.
This is a question from one of our participants. How do you see the role of a board member versus staff?
I believe that the administration at AC Transit is fantastic. I think that there is no shortage of good administrators there that really know how to do their job. What I think the role of an AC Transit director encompasses is somebody who's going to be out in the community talking to people and really representing the needs of the people that they encounter. And so when I describe my role to governance, that's what I mean. I mean not just making decisions on the dais, I mean actually talking to bus riders, talking to the bus operators, talking to the mechanics, talking to the staff, and deferring to their expertise. I'm a math teacher, I'm good with numbers, but I am not a transportation engineer. So it's very important that we know what our role is, and our role is to represent the people that we are elected to serve.
I absolutely agree. I think you absolutely have to be talking to writers, to operators, etc. But you also have to understand data, and you have to understand research. It's very similar to the role that I have at my university. Our faculty, they are the governors of our university, and I'm an implementer as the associate vice provost who leads a staff of 100. They're the ones their role is to go out, understand higher education research, set policy for the university, and then I take that policy and make it so for my 100-person unit in academic advising specifically. And we work together on that. We have conversations. I go to my own conferences and bring that information back to them. And so it's a reciprocal relationship. It's a conversation back and forth between all of us, because all of us bring something to the table, and it's the responsibility of the directors to have that conversation with the community and with the state, and understand what's happening federally as well, and to go after those federal dollars.
So you have 2-minute response for the last question. This is a closing statement. In closing, why should Castro Valley Democratic Club endorse your candidacy?
Again, thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you all today. I am your neighbor and I'm grateful to be here. Like I said, I've lived in an unincorporated area and I know what some of those challenges are with not necessarily having local governance. And so I understand that. I have experience leading classified staff. I have experience being administration. I have experience also being governance and a policymaker. I have experience leading a very large budget, a multi-million-dollar budget, and going after federal dollars to solve problems. I think those are all skills that you need to work in a policy-making body. I've also served as the chair of the Hayward Library Commission, so I also understand what it means to go out and talk to constituents about what do you want from your library. Right now we're working on a project in our second library in Hayward, not the beautiful downtown library, but Weeks Library, which is our second one, and we're talking to constituents about what do you need there, what do you want there, and how can we make that happen. And we're talking about partnerships and joint funding with Cal State East Bay and potentially Chabot as well. And so I believe in partnership. I want to be sure that the bus lines that we share serve both of our community, or all of our communities, because I know that there's multiple constituencies there. And I have that experience to connect all of these pieces together to ensure that our buses serve our communities so our riders can commute to work, get to school, go see their friends at the senior center. Thank you so much for your time and attention today.
Yes, I am so happy that this is the election that I'm in, because I think that no matter what, AC Transit is in really good hands. And so we share a lot of similar ideas. The one thing that I will say is that I decided to run about 6 months ago, and ever since then I have been working in the community, attending public events, tabling, talking to bus riders, talking to bus operators. One of the first things that I did was reach out to Murphy McCallie, the AC Transit director, to find out his ideas specifically about Hayward and the unincorporated area, because he was the previous representative for this area prior to this redistricting. I also reached out to the labor unions, because I would not do this if I was not the labor endorsed candidate, which I am. And so when I talk about what's going on here in my community, it's incredibly important to me that I am a part of my community. And I have a very viable campaign. I have dozens of endorsements from various organizations, including and elected leaders and community leaders, including 2 of the AC Transit representatives that we have now. And I also have dozens of volunteers who share the same vision and passion, who are ready to knock on doors and make phone calls and get us across the finish line. So I humbly ask for your endorsement, because I plan to win and I plan to lead, and I want to involve all of you with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jesse and Shonda. Can we give them a round of applause? I would like to take this opportunity to thank Castro Valley Democratic Club's Endorsement Committee. Sean Cochran, raise your hand. Dave Siegel, Bob Swanson, thank you for our videotaping. Roxanne Lewis at our check-in table, and myself, Pat Payne. We have been working for many months, and our objective is to have a fair and transparent system with ballots and tally sheets so that we have written records of our results. And we also have heard from our community. I'd like to thank Murphy McCullough and Christy Wirtz and Roxanne Lewis, who are board members and have submitted questions for our candidates in this interview. So we have tried very hard to make this an open process and allowing you to participate and ask questions directly of our candidates. So we're not done. We still have work to do. So we need your help and your support to get out the vote. On Saturday, August 24th at 10 a.m., There will be a postcarding party at Castro Valley Library. Show up. We will announce the endorsement of the candidates after we count our ballots. Our endorsed candidates need your support. So if you are willing to volunteer to help them, make phone calls, knock on doors, or register voters, we need your support. So please come out, get involved, get engaged, because we have an obligation as citizens. We need to be active and to actually seek to get our Democratic candidates endorsed. As a result of endorsement, we will be promoting our candidates. We're going to take out a half-page ad in the San Leandro Times and the Castro Valley Forum, and we're going to publicize during probably mid-October to let the public know who are the endorsed candidates and asking them to vote for them. So we hope to see you and get involved. Please see me if you're interested in joining Castro Valley Democratic Club. We have membership applications here. And if you'd like to volunteer, let us know what you would like to do. Thank you all. And I forgot to mention James Farley. Thank you, James. James helped with our tent cards and other things. But I appreciate you all showing up today. Members, please turn in your ballots. There's a box on the table. And thank you for coming today. Wait, we have one announcement from James. Is this about
the Fall Festival and the campaign headquarters? Eden area is having a grand opening for the Democratic headquarters, and it's going to be on Sunday, August 25th from 2 to 4. So come on down. We have the Democratic campaign headquarters in Hayward, 1199 B Street. Again, that's Sunday, August 25th, 2 to 4. We hope you all will have light refreshments and introduce you to our new headquarters. Also, the Hayward Area Democratic Club is having our annual Fall Festival, our only fundraiser we do, and it's going to be at Francisco Cermino's house. And that is 2247 Sleepy Hollow Avenue in Hayward, and that'll be September 15th. We give away 2 scholarships for students. So again, the Hayward Fall Festival, our only fundraiser on September 15th, 2024 from 3 to 6 at 2247 Sleepy Hollow Avenue. Thank you.